The great physicist Albert Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again by expecting different results. Now, Dolly Parton takes this in a different angle and says, we cannot direct the wind, but we can definitely adjust the sails. Now, digital era or the internet of things has definitely impacted the way the fraud works and the way that we need to adjust our methods and our procedures in order to detect and prevent fraud. Now, during the past years, there has been significant collapse in the giant of the economies. Wirecard, for example, collapsed from being an over $20 billion business into nothing over a few days or over a few years, depending on how much you look at the timeline. So now, what can we do and what do we need to change in order to make sure that fraud doesn't go undetected and there are significant or sufficient measures in place that fraud can be detected in time, can be prevented, and everyone is highly equipped in order to tackle fraud? Now, if we only put this responsibility on external auditors alone, basically there are also limited resources that the external auditors can use to prevent and detect fraud. This is only also because the external audit is also done based on the international auditing standards or another framework that they have to follow, and that framework also offers guidelines and also limitations on the sources of information that they can use. Now, if we look at Wirecard, for example, the sources of the scandal only came from journalists, for example. Now, people would begin to ask questions like, why did the auditors not catch it? Now, we can spend the blame game from Enron up to Wirecard, finding or asking why are the auditors not catching this or why is this happening. But basically, this responsibility has to rest on everyone, the business itself, the customers, the auditors. Everyone has a responsibility. And are we adjusting to the digital economy? Are we adjusting to the digital age in order to make sure that fraud is not going undetected and is not we know we are able to prevent and protect our assets from fraud? Because in the old days before the internet, it would take one person many hours for them to actually perform a fraud scheme. But right now, with the automation, someone can click a button and perform millions of fraudulent transactions in over less than 1 second. Now, if we look into the COVID-19 relief funds all over the world, not even South Africa, even the United States, or any country that actually had that form, also suffered serious fraudulent claims from people that doesn't exist and from people who actually were not even affected by COVID-19 pandemic or were the least affected by the pandemic. Now, what can we do better to make sure that during the digital age, as the fraudsters are definitely advancing their methods, us as the fraud prevention warriors, us as the people who wants to prevent fraud and make sure that the society is safer, the society can trust the financial system, what can we do? This is going to be the center of my presentation when I'm presenting fraud during the digital era at the upcoming fraud conference in September. Thank you.